So what I was thinking about, yesterday we left off talking about, um, or the other day, CMSs, content management systems. So I've been researching content management systems, and I don't know why this thing's on my screen, but oh well. Um, some of the content management systems I was looking at was, let's see, CMS for Next.js, for example. Um, let's see, let's who pops up. Payload. Payload. I looked at Payload. And what I'm running into is a lot of these systems are trying to be WordPress, um, but um, they're not WordPress. And so, what I'm thinking about doing, are you familiar with headless WordPress?
Mm-mm.
Headless WordPress, it's kind of becoming, so I'll do headless WordPress. WP Engine seems to be leading it, but basically, you keep WordPress on the back end, and then you make your website or your app pull from WordPress. So that way the marketing
Mm.
team can still have WordPress and but you're pulling it from a different front end and you're connecting to it. So let's see how much market share of WordPress. So right now WordPress powers 42% of all websites on the internet. According to W3 Tech, it commands a dominant 61 to 62% among all known content management systems. So it's kind of the big leader. So the only problem is it's written in PHP and the front end delivers in PHP. So in order to have the front end act like a web app, you have to switch the front end to be like Next.js or TanStack Start or any other framework where you're actually building an application. And so the marketing team, they like working from WordPress's admin panel, but this is a way to keep WordPress involved in the stack while having the content be displayed inside your web app.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things that I've been debating is should I, for MickeyThompson.com, use WordPress headless to get a content management system so that we can edit content without having to go through the entire shipping process of code.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something that I've been just. So I was going to tell you the other day I worked on a ticket inside or an issue inside which we created during our video. Let me go to
Yeah.
GitHub and I delivered it. So let's go over here to issues. I went ahead and marked it done. I did some research, figured out
Video
who the
Mickey.
top one was. The top one was Payload, and that's pretty much where I landed. But then Payload only works inside Next.js, so it's not very front end agnostic. So if somebody were wanting to use TanStack Start or to be flexible, I'd like to have a CMS that's flexible. And so in the end, it's kind of like coming back to, yep, I think WP Engine is right. I think WordPress as your content management system and then basically pull the content in to your website using its WordPress's API. So
Yeah.
that's where I've pretty much landed as far as debating it. Now I just got to talk myself into it. So what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think that there are going to be plenty of people that are going to want to add their own page and
Yes, without having to
um
wait for,
hmm
the person who runs the AI to have to do
yeah,
it.
or a
So
blog
that's
post or
yeah, yeah. So what we would do, let me bring up my Visual Studio Code. So I created a folder called, go ahead and go in here, see, not cross-platform. I created one called www.mickeythompson.com. I haven't, so what I was thinking to do was basically, I'll show you what the structure would look like. It would have a folder called apps, and then inside apps, you would have a folder called, I'm assuming we would call it um, maybe WordPress. I always dislike calling things by their brand, so maybe we'll call it CMS. And then we would do another folder called web. And then you could also do another folder called, well, this is how we do it now, desktop, and then another folder called mobile. So what would happen is your CMS would be running WordPress, your website would be running presumably Next.js, and then it would be pulling content from your CMS, which would be WordPress. And then your desktop and your mobile would be standalone apps, but they would share the design components from web. So that way, so what you would do is you would come down here and you create another folder called packages. And then inside packages, you would have, let's see, a new folder. You would call it, let's say, UI. And it would be all your UI components. So that way, your mobile, your desktop, and your web could share the same look and design. And and WordPress would not be using this because WordPress is written in PHP, so it wouldn't be pulling that in. But this way, a client that already has an existing WordPress website could, in fact, keep using it and then still get desktop, mobile, and web that all looks the same and has the same user interface. So that's what I've been, and with WordPress's dominance, it's something to look at and be to have a solution for that, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And I mean, I think there's plenty of people that already use WordPress so that
Mhm.
it wouldn't be hard for them to learn it or, make that
Exactly.
switch.
Exactly. So, what I've been debating on is do I go ahead and have MickeyThompson.com add WordPress as a CMS and then go ahead and solve the um, question about how do you edit a page? And I think other technology experts working inside a company that would want to hire us to help them would appreciate seeing a solution like that because more than likely they're probably using WordPress for their content management
Right.
system already.
Yeah.
So therefore, we have a solution for that. Versus, you got to get rid of WordPress, and then everyone who wants to make a change, like Jameson or somebody or Chris, you have to go through us to make an edit to a paragraph. And so that's what I'm trying to solve, if that makes sense. And now the market definitely has not addressed this from the Next.js point of view or from the, it's definitely a lot of developers. I think what's happened is what most companies do is they put WordPress on www dot whatever their domain is, and then they put their app on app dot whatever their domain name is, and then they have two separate teams. The marketing team handles the WordPress site, and then the IT team or the tech software developers handle the app, and they do not work together. In the future with AI, that I think is going to have to change. I think there's going to have to be more overlap. And otherwise, you're just going to be duplicating efforts. And so, and the web team, the marketing team's going to say, hey, we need to get a mobile app into some of our users because we want to communicate to them through an experience. IT is going to want a desktop that's going to, and then the marketing team and the brand team is going to say it's got to have our look and feel. So I share all this because this is where I think the future is going to go. So I
Yeah.
think I talked myself into it.
It's better to go ahead and have that ready because it's going to be something that
Yes,
they're going to.
yes, yes. So it's going to be a short one today. That's really what I wanted to talk about, and I kind of talked myself into it. And I thought that talking and sharing all this with you, there's a lot of CMSs out there. So, like for example, let's see. Let me see if I can find that ticket that I created. It'll be closed. Yeah, right here. Content management systems. So what I did was I had AI write this for me just because I'd done a lot of research. Tina CMS was a popular one. I think that was the one that I decided on. So if I would have picked one, it would have been Tina CMS, and it actually looks very good. If I were to, so this closes the loop on that. If there is no WordPress and they're looking to not add WordPress, then Tina is the solution I would go with. Um, The other one was Payload. So if they're using Next.js, I think Payload would definitely be a good CMS to use. Um, I think these CMSs, because what I noticed about what Tina does really good is documentation. So, you know, you don't want to have to go through a whole pull request just to update some docs. You want
Right.
to be able to edit it live in the site. So that's
Right.
what Tina does really well. They also have a workflow. They do have a premium service. The one thing I didn't like about it was in order to have the workflow automated so that your changes go live, you have to, I think it was having trouble figuring out if you needed Teams, um, or if you needed business. But you can see real fast, you start adding into some money real fast. If we go to
Mm-hmm.
monthly, $2.99 a month for business plan for 20 users. Um, it's not crazy, but then again, you're locked into a SaaS. Um,
Yeah.
so the one thing you lose, but now it's all open source, but the one thing you lose is the workflow. Right here, editorial workflow. And so it looks like you do have to have the business to have, well, look, it's like Team Plus. Team Plus has editorial workflow. So you do have to have editorial in order to get the editorial workflow. And what it does is you edit it, then it creates a pull request, and then the pull request gets notified to the users to go out and approve the pull request. Um, so that's a new workflow that you would have to add. But if a company had, familiar with pull requests and stuff like that, that's what you would do. But I tell you all this because in the end, I think um, WordPress is going to be the dominant player. So might as well go ahead and learn how to do headless WordPress. So that way we
Yeah.
can pull the content. I'll go actually, for the benefit of the audience, whoever's watching this. Um, so here's the technical problem. A lot of people get confused about this. They hear about, the Gutenberg project at WordPress.
Mm-hmm.
And, we work with Gutenberg. So the Gutenberg project is where they basically switch to block design. And so let's go ahead and pull this. Let's see if this shows it to us. So I'll just pull up a screenshot here. So Gutenberg is the editing process. So the editor itself is written in React. And but the front end of a WordPress website is not in React. It is actually in PHP. That's being converted to HTML. So this makes WordPress really complex because they have their editing process in React and they have their front end in HTML. So even though you could use React inside WordPress, they're not really supporting React on the front end. They're only supporting it on the administrative side. So you editing a page, you're using React, but the page itself shows up as HTML on the front end. And so that gets confusing for a lot of people because they think that they can use React in WordPress, and technically you cannot out of the box. Um,
Mm.
they just use React as a dev dependency on their editing process. So I wish they had a React front end, but by using it headless, you're replacing the front end of WordPress and you're getting rid of the HTML that comes from WordPress and you're replacing it with your React application like
Yeah.
Next.js or TanStack Start or Astro or something like that. So anyway, that's why this is why WP Engine and headless WordPress, I can see why they're leading this effort and I think in the future, if this takes off, I mean, it will be the natural evolution of software development because everyone wants to work from AI. And by doing this, you're working from AI, but you're also giving the marketing team the ability to go in and add a period or correct a spelling without having to use AI.
Mm-hmm.
So, well, cool.
Yeah.
Well, we'll go ahead and wrap it up for today. We'll go ahead and stop the video, and that was my talk for the day. And next time we get together, hopefully I'll have a start, or I'll plan to start figuring out this headless WordPress. So I think there's going to be some training videos in my future.
Sounds good.